momentum, if done correctly, this is our chance to transform the RFK campus into a hub of economic growth, workforce, community, pride, and a whole lot of other things that you all are driving the agenda around. Imagine what it could mean for our young people to see jobs opening up close to home, for local contractors and small businesses to get a fair shot at work, for Ward 7 residents to not only witness change, but to be hired, promoted, and celebrated throughout all the change. That's the kind of inclusive development that I believe in. That's the kind of inclusive development that I've led as chair of the Committee on Business and Economic Development, and that's the kind of city we should be building. Our local sports economy is a powerful engine for inclusive economic growth, one that can create real opportunities for residents and small business owners across the district. In case you don't know, sports in this country is a multi-billion-dollar industry that fuels jobs, generates contracts for local businesses, and serves as an anchor for neighborhood revitalization. Just look at what we already accomplished. And I won't take much longer. I know you want to get to the panel and have some questions answered. But look at what we've already done around the catalytic power of sports. And you don't have to look very far. Look at Nationals Park and how it transformed Navy Yard. Look at Audi Field, how it jumpstart development around Buzzard Point. Look at the Capital One Arena and how it's breathed lasting energy into the Chinatown Penn Quarter area. These facilities are more than venues. They are a catalyst for sustained community development, community-led, driven development. Now, we have a once-in-a-generation chance to do the same for Ward 7 through RFK. The RFK is little more than an underutilized lot right now with some athletic fields, but with the right vision, a new stadium can unlock over $2 billion in private investment and bring transformative change to the part of the city that has long deserved greater attention and resources. Now, while I'm excited about bringing the Commanders back home so we can get another Super Bowl real soon, that's right, my top priority is making sure district residents are at the front and center in the economic pipeline from start to finish. That means jobs, that means real contracts and real opportunity and real investment in our people and our small businesses. So, finally, we must ensure that this project delivers construction jobs and skilled trades apprenticeships, contracting opportunities for minorities and women-owned businesses, procurement of local goods and services, everything from materials to catering, internships and career pathways for our young people, ongoing employment in stadium operations, security and concessions. This is more than a stadium, y'all. I don't think they heard me, Wendell. This is more than a stadium, y'all. It's a chance to build wealth, stability, prosperity, and opportunity for thousands of District of Columbia residents and small businesses. I've seen the term sheet that was circulated online, but I won't get into all the details unless those are questions that you all ask, because this is your all's meeting tonight facilitated by your council member. I'm here to listen and to learn and to make sure that the things that you all want to see are part of this development. We've done it in the past. The council, I don't think, has ever rubber stamped, definitely not since I've been there, any project that we've got to come before us. We've made changes, modifications, and things that we think make those projects better. And that's what we intend to do when we get this one. Thank you all. Thank you, council member, for inviting me.
Thank you, Councilmember McDuffie. It is so good to have you here. Now I have the privilege of introducing two very special people. They're going to do a dual presentation, I think. Yes? Okay. All right. That works for me. Our next speaker is DC's Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, Ms. Nina Albert. Ms. Albert brings years of experience in public real estate, economic revitalization, and sustainable urban development. She previously served as the Commissioner of the Public Buildings Service at the U.S. General Services Administration during the Biden administration. She was, and this is what I'm impressed about, she was the Vice President of Real Estate at the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, Metro. No, this is the part that I'm really excited about. She is a U.S. Army veteran. Ms. Albert will speak with us tonight on the benefits of the RFK Stadium Agreement.
Thank you so much, Donna. What you left out is that I started my career in DC government working on the wharf and being responsible for the Anacostia Waterfront Initiative. And so it is my great pleasure to be standing before you today, really bringing home what we had always aspired to, which is that the development all along the Anacostia would benefit both sides of the river. That RFK Stadium and Poplar Point would one day be delivered after the yards and the wharf were built out. And here we are today, almost 20 years later, ready to take that next step. So it is, I'm glad to be here. I'm here on behalf of Mayor Bowser. I know that she would love to be here, but it is my honor to be here tonight. I'm also joined by Kirtan Mehta, who's with the commanders. I went ahead and we've got a long set of slides. I've got about 14, so I'm gonna roll through them because they say on average it's like 2 minutes a slide. I'm gonna try and do it in 15 minutes, 1 minute a slide, and not at 1.5 times speed. But anyway, but before we get started, I do want to recognize the owners and the general management here at the Strand, Greg Caston, Mark Trey Freeman, and Gator Thompson. The people every day who make your lives a little bit more fun and welcome you. The Strand is also a recipient of one of DemPed's grants, so I'm even more excited to be standing here. Yeah. Okay, next slide. It's kind of a funny place to start, but I'm going to start where I started my opening remarks, which is I started my career 20 years ago, really when the yards was just delivering. And what I wanted to point out was not the numbers, okay? Not the numbers of how many, residents and homes and bars and office buildings and hotels that are all there. All of that's fantastic. We know that. We feel that. I want to talk a little bit about what the opportunity is. What was the opportunity back then? It wasn't about sports, and it wasn't only about entertainment. It was about sports and entertainment, but it was also about transformation and opportunities and amenities for the community. And so when that whole area, Capitol Riverfront, was built, it was built by building the parks first, by delivering for the community what they needed first, together with sports. And over a very short time period, I know 20 years sounds long, but it's not. It's really quick for a whole neighborhood to really build up around it. And today, in this moment, recovering post-COVID, the communities that have recovered the fastest are those that are mixed use and those that are on our waterfronts, because there's strong demand to be on the water because of its healing powers, because of its majesty, and because it is just breathtakingly beautiful. And so that is what the waterfront is unlocks an amenity that we didn't have before. And as Mayor Bowser says, just to bring it down to, kind of the common sense, it is the fastest way. Sports today, the commanders today at RFK is the fastest and surest way to make sure that the amenities that this community has so long been waiting for are delivered. So next slide. We believe at a moment that we now must focus completely on jobs and diversification of our economy in Washington, D.C., that we have to invest in projects that have certain qualities. It's not all projects, it's certain kinds of projects. It's projects that deliver jobs in large number, because that we have to replace nearly 40,000 jobs over the next 4 years because of federal government job loss. So jobs are very important to us. We also need to invest in projects that have certainty of delivery. I can't give $1 to somebody who promises they're going to do something, but I don't know if it's going to happen. In today's economy in the District of Columbia, we have to invest in projects that we know will happen. And the Commander Stadium is one of those projects. Next slide. I saw a sign when I was coming in here, and it said community first. And I believe in that very strongly. And I just want to point out that this project is 180 acres. It is enormous. We've been talking about how big it is to give people a reference point. And in landmass, it's about 4 wharves. 4 wharves can fit on 180 acres. So one stadium is about 1 wharf. So we've got 3 wharves to go, and that can still be accommodated. And so we've been talking to the team, and I just want to point out colors. I'm sorry for anybody who's colorblind, but the pink area is where the stadium is going to be located, basically in the exact same area where the stadium today is located. And then where there are parking lots today, and I think we have close to more than 20 or 30 parking lots on the surface, the orange area and the blue area just on either side of the stadium, the commanders will have the right to develop. And this is very important to us, and it's important to the team, because we've learned over the district's history of delivering master plan projects that the catalytic effect occurs when there is a significant amount of development that happens all at once. The wharf, which I worked on, was going to deliver in 3 phases. The developer decided to deliver 2/3 of the project at once because they wanted to get that energy going as they recovered after the 2008 recession. And so that's really what we're looking to do here. By offering to the commanders that they can develop the orange, the pink, and the blue areas, we can get that commercial and that residential development program going much more quickly. And then the district will hang on to 3 other areas. The 2 green areas, one is called Recreation District. That's where we already have 3 fields, soccer fields. And the mayor she put it in her budget last year, and she's going to put it in the budget again this year. We would like to have a sportsplex because we've heard from youth groups and other recreational users that while we do have some outdoor fields, our youth are traveling outside of the District of Columbia to go to indoor facilities, indoor tracks, indoor gym spaces for gymnastics and other kinds of things. We want those kinds of facilities here. That is completely a community amenity, and it is not for the team, nor will be developed by the team unless they want to contribute to it, which we are open to. And then there's the Anacostia Commons, about 30 acres that goes along the entire waterfront. And we've spent quite a bit of time talking about how do you connect RFK to Kingman Island and Heritage Islands. I didn't realize it till I really looked at a map that Langston Golf Course is literally just north of this site and could be connected to. So there is a park system, a 1,200-acre waterfront park system in your backyard, and we can unleash and unlock the opportunities to really enjoy it. And last but not least is the yellow, which is another parcel that the district's going to hang on to so that we can provide opportunities for local developers to develop that. Next slide. So let's talk about the money. The money. This is the single largest private investment in DC history. In the history of the District of Columbia, when you compare City Center, when you look at the Convention Center, when you look at the Wharf, when you look at any project across the city, there has been no single investor that has brought $2.7 billion to the District of Columbia. Thank you. And that matters now. That matters now in a time where the district's budget is constrained. So let's talk about the district's contribution in the district's budget. We are looking at contributing $500 million to what? To sewer, to cleaning up the site, to power, electricity, all that kind of stuff that we would have to build if there was any kind of development there. If we want this site developed, we have to build infrastructure. That is the public contract. Anytime any site is developed, typically the private sector will look to the public sector and say, these are your roads, these are your sewers, these are your power lines, you should pay for that, and we will pay for the vertical construction. And that is what we're talking about here. Now, there's another component to this project, which is parking. And we love to talk about parking because everybody's concerned about parking. The commanders are concerned about parking because they want enough parking to, serve the stadium. Neighbors are concerned about parking because they don't want people parking in their front yards. So we, I think, have struck a very good balance, which is to build over the course of the project 8,000 parking spaces in structured parking lots. So rather than the single, what do you call that? Like a flat parking lot, we're going to build garages. Yeah, surface. Now, garages are expensive. And so we are to roll out the first 2 garages. There are 3 garages proposed, but to roll out the first 2 garages, Events DC is going to contribute $181 million, and the commanders are going to pay for the rest. So it's about a half and half, if I remember right. And then 5 years from now, we have the right to capture all of the money from the sales and ticket tax that the Commanders Stadium produces. And what you do is it's called monetizing it, right? You have a known cash flow of dollars, and you can go ahead and bond against it and issue a bond so that we can buy out those parking garages and own them. And that's important to us so that we own these assets that one day we can collect revenue from. But that's not today. That's out in the future in 2032. So today's investment is about that $500 million and that 181 from Events DC. Next slide. So how does this compare to other projects that the district has done? So we've actually been investing in sports stadiums for quite a while. First with the Capital One Arena. A lot of folks look to that because Abe Pollin really funded a majority of it privately, and everybody was grateful for that. And so the public contributed about 33% of that total investment, and the private sector, Abe Pollin, contributed 77%. For Nats Park, the district funded almost all of that. And we got our benefit from the rest of the property developing around it. By the way, we issued 30-year bonds for Nats Park, and they've been paid back in 20 years. We've exceeded our payback for that particular stadium, and that's what I think we can anticipate here. And you can look down the line, but for Audi Field, the private sector investment was about 62% of the total. For Care First Arena in Ward 8, that was almost completely funded by the District of Columbia. And then just recently with Capital One Arena, the district was a little bit over half. So 64% is publicly funded compared to the private sector. Let's go to the next page. So in this particular case, this is closer to what we expected with Abe Pollin, where the District of Columbia in this stadium is fronting 24% of the total project cost, and the commanders are paying for 76% of the total project costs. It's very significant private contribution. And when you compare how we've done as a city to other recent NFL stadiums in other parts of the country, you can see how the percentages are what the public sector have contributed to an NFL stadium. So I think, again, we have done an incredible job of attracting and bringing to this city an incredible team on a winning streak. Next slide. So let's keep talking about money, because everybody keeps saying $1 billion, and I just told you 800 and some. So there is another $202 million that we are proposing for this project. And that is paying for roads, utilities. I mean, I've talked to folks in this community, and you tell me already about how bad the traffic is getting around. And so we know that today we need to make investments. And we also are talking to WMATA about things that we've also heard from this community, which is the desire to have another station near RFK at Oklahoma Avenue specifically. And so we want WMATA. Oh, so there's a lot of support for that. Next slide. So we want WMATA to study that and really understand it and get serious about whether or not that's feasible. And if it is, how much it's going to cost and how are we going to pay for that? So anyway, this is a unique site. It was always designed for a stadium. And over the history, there was only served by one line. Today, with the introduction of blue and silver, this stadium is now served by 3 lines. as well as a whole variety of other transportation things that you guys are more than aware of. But in the next phase, we are going to have to study this much more seriously with a much more detail to figure out exactly where do you build new on-ramps, where do you widen roads, and all those details. We're not there today, but we're incredibly aware that this is an important investment and study that we need to do. Next. So folks talk to us all the time about housing. And I will tell you, I think that the opportunity at RFK is significant. We don't know the exact number yet, again, because there's a little bit more to study. Today in hand, we know that we've got a deal with the team. We know that we want them to develop. We know that we want to develop more. The mixed-use development will come a little bit later, but we've done some what we call test fits to figure out how much could be built on the site, and we are estimating between 5,000 to 6,000 new units. And if any of you remember, the Anacostia Waterfront Initiative requires, it's a higher affordable housing requirement than other projects in the city, requires 30% of those units to be affordable units. And so with that number of people, we're talking about accommodating 10,000 new residents at RFK alone, not to mention the fact that DemPed still has 30 acres at Hill East to develop, which is right adjacent to it. So you could imagine even more being developed and more housing. Next. We've heard from the community and we know the demand for recreation. And so I've kind of touched on certain things. I mentioned that the mayor had put in last year's budget, $89 million for a sportsplex, and we put it in the budget again, another 89, or we're reintroducing it because it didn't get funded last year. And this is again to serve the needs of our youth who really want that space. And to me, it's also about connecting that waterfront access to the rest of the trail system that's all around RFK. Let's go to the next. And to speak to that, I just want to remind everybody, a requirement of the federal government when they transferred the land to the district is that 30% of the entire 180 acres would be dedicated to parks and open space. So this plan that we've shared with you factors in all of that. And again, I think there's an enormous opportunity to connect all these things. Next slide. So I hear from folks that, why make such a big investment in 10 events a year? I have to tell you, we have come to an agreement with the commanders that a roof will be on this stadium, which not only allows the Super Bowl to come, but it allows us to attract concerts at a scale that we haven't been before. And so you can't fill a 65,000 seat stadium with 100 concerts a year. Just, there are not that many concerts. So there's about 10 plus really mega, Beyonce, Taylor Swift scale events. But there's all other kinds of events that can happen. And I'll give you just the easiest example, which is the convention center. When they sell out and a corporation wants to have a big, like either party or dinner, they often look to other huge spaces, and we don't have that many of them. And so stadiums very often get used for major corporate events or conventions, and so it becomes a flow over. And again, all different kinds of activations, and the commanders have estimated that they believe that they can book 100 private and other events a year inside this dome stadium. So our target is to have 200 activations per year. And I think that will give that energy on a regular basis to support restaurants and other kinds of retail that needs kind of a more regular foot traffic. Next. So, these numbers are overwhelming. And by the way, these are conservative. It's very hard for me to express a project of this size and scale that is going to be taking place over the course of the next 4 years. And if this gets passed in this budget, that work will begin immediately. And so when you're doing a project of this scale, you're hiring like engineers and architects and planners and, surveyors and all different kinds of people. And then you move into construction, and then you move into operations. So there's this again, certainty of delivery and certainty of jobs. And so these numbers are about the construction jobs, which we're estimating 14,000 over the course of the construction of the stadium alone, and 2,000 permanent jobs. And so there's a little bit of something for everybody, depending on where your skill set is and what your interest is. There's also, and Councilmember McDuffie spoke to it, direct spending. So this $3.6 billion project is literally contracts going out the door for businesses, and particularly construction businesses, to bid on, and there will be a contract in hand. And that is so important in a moment like right now when construction activity is really slowing down. So it supports existing businesses and it lets them grow because of the size and scale of this project. And right on the heels of that is hopefully the mixed-use development, starting specifically with that plaza district closest to the metro station. And that will create another 14 to 17,000 jobs. And like we said, everything else. In total, this is just an amazing, unbelievable number. Not in direct spending. Direct spending is the contracts out, but in tax revenue, dollars that come back to the district and get refunneled into programs that our community cares about, $4 billion over the next 30 years. So yes, that deserves definitely a round of applause. And that's what we're talking about. How do you take something that's certain so that the dollars can get back up so that we can continue to provide the services that our residents have come to expect and that we want to continue to invest in the things that we care about the most: public safety for our children and for our neighbors, for education, and for continued opportunity in housing, affordable housing for all, and new business opportunities for any entrepreneur that seeks them. So last but not least, I don't know how long I've been going on, but what are next steps? So we are hoping to get to a point where the community feels comfortable with this investment and that we can get council approval this summer during the budget season. Next, assuming that goes through, then we will immediately begin with planning for all of the components of the project. We will be planning it all at once. Then, in order to meet the opening date that the Commanders has set for us, which is 2030 stadium opening, that means that we've got to start construction in fall of 2026. And then you can see right on the heels of that, the Commander's intention is to break ground on the Plaza District. And then also the Sportsplex, we hope to bring online all at the same time, again, so we can give that community, that amenity back to the community right away. Last slide. People say, why is this place so special? And if you can look in the background, the iconic views of today's RFK Stadium is that you can see the monument and the Capitol in the distance. And so here is just a rendering of what it would look like through a domed stadium, get that monumental access down there. So more images to come. We don't have them of the outside yet because we haven't designed it yet, but the inside, everybody knows what that energy is going to feel like with 65,000 seat, kind of see-through roof. With that, I'll turn it back over to Donna, who will take all of your questions, and Kieran and I, Kieran and I are here to answer any questions that the council member wants us to answer.
Nina, thank you. I love listening to that walkthrough. It's huge and there's a lot of processes. Okay, just a little bit of housekeeping on our Q&A, right? Because the Q&A is the heart of this tonight. We are going to do this a couple of ways. One, you can write down your questions on a card and we can pass those around, and you'll need to let us know if you want to write it down. We're going to have two people that are going to run mics. We'll have to take a couple from the panel here that will run mics. There's a standing mic right here, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to run this like a traffic stop. All right, you know how that goes. Okay, so if you, what that mean? One stops, the other one goes. It's in order. If you need to write down your question and you want us to read that question off, please raise your hand, and Mary here will get you a card and a pen. Anyone? Anyone? Matthew? Anyone want to write your question down right here in the green? Okay, Matthew, if you could just continue to raise your hand if you need a card, and Matthew and Donnie, just watch out for that. And with that, I'm going to introduce now a special guest with us tonight from the Washington Commanders. He is Mr. Ketan Mehta. He's the Vice President for Public Affairs with the Commanders, and he was named to this role in April 2024. He's described as a skilled leader with a deep experience building relationships and in ensuring that organizations are positively impacted by the communities that they represent, and that's really important for us. Ketan will focus much of his time on connecting with key stakeholders for the RFK site, league officials, fans, sponsors, and community organizations. And with that, Ketan, we'll bring you up.
I'll make it quick from here because I think we need to get your questions. And first of all, I'll make it in a couple categories. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come here. We really want to hear from you, as everyone said. So thank you. Thank you to the council members for the time. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Really appreciate it. 2, don't do it right now, but if you haven't gotten a hat, a towel, a yard sign, or a poster, please grab them. I do not want to take them on the way home. So please, for the love of God. Yes, please. Get more if you already have one. And then lastly, and then lastly, I just want to say, yes, I've been in this job for about a year. It's one of the best jobs I could ever imagine. I'm a huge football fan. I've lived in Washington for a very long time. This is extremely exciting, but it's not about me. I will just say, though, my 3rd day on the job, they drafted Jaden Daniels. 8 months later, we worked with the mayor's office and the NFL to pass the RFK bill that brought the Ward 7, the land back to Ward 7 in the city. We struck a deal with the mayor's office, as you guys heard, 2 weeks ago, and brought the 2027 draft here as well. So we look forward to working with you on what the next steps should be. Thank you.
I can't hold the mic. You going? That's what we doing. Control. Kimon Freeman, Angry Black. That's what we doing. Is it? Yeah, I'm just trying to talk. Okay, we got it. We good. Can't hear myself. I'm trying to. Kimon Freeman, we act in and out. You got it? Boom. All right. Kimon Freeman, We Act Radio, Angry Black Man in Therapy, representing. All right. I am not a football fan, but I'm not here to crash y'all party. I know y'all want to tailgate and all have a good time. I'm not here to crash that. All I'm saying is if the billionaires are coming to play in the poorest ward in the nation's capital, then concessions need to be made. And I'm not talking about trinkets like they did for Manhattan. All right. We need to define what a comprehensive community benefits package should look like. Now, thank you. Let me point out real quick. Ward 7 hasn't had a book in decades. There's a direct correlation between crime, violence, and illiteracy. Ward 7 has only 3 grocery stores servicing over 90,000 people. In comparison, Ward 3 has 15 grocery stores serving less than 77,000 people. We have a food. So what I want to know is how are some of the inequities in this city going to be addressed with this $1 billion acquisition? Some of it getting $1 a year. I don't know about y'all, but I pay a lot more than that in my rent. And finally, I want to know why the DC Office of Planning, their comprehensive plan, the Office of Racial Equity that hasn't had power to so why they're not involved in the process. Office of Racial Equity, Kenya Duffy is partially responsible of, and thank you for that. And the DC Office of Planning, the comprehensive plan is not a part of the process. And I also like to give a shout out to the Douglas Community Land Trust that can ensure that there will be an equitable distribution of wealth in the poorest section of the nation's capital. Please.
Okay, so I will answer that because I totally agree with you. We all agree with you. I want to hit 3 points. Number one is that in terms of the Office of Planning, the Office of Planning is involved in this. So there's 2 components to it. One is the stadium, which we are proposing be in the site of the existing stadium. So there's no real land use action that we believe is needed. But for all of the development, for mixed use development, that will be part of a master planning process that will bring in community input into that. And also this will be incorporated into the comprehensive plan, the DC 2050 comprehensive plan, which by the way was announced right here. So the Office of Planning will be involved. The question about the Office of Racial Equity, honestly, like we work with them, but DEMPED and all of the agencies that get involved in this, for example, First Source, DSLBD, DOES, negotiating to make sure that there is CBE engagement as well as union engagement in this particular project. That is usually handled by DEMPED. So it's just roles and responsibilities. But I want to talk about the most important thing that I have heard consistently, which is how do we make sure that this project delivers grocery stores and other amenities for people in Ward 7 and in Ward 8. And I will assure you that the density of homes, the economic activity that is going to be generated by this project will reach through all of Ward 7. And do you know that I personally work on attracting grocery stores for Ward 7, I would say on a monthly basis. So it's very hard to do, but it's very hard to do. But I don't want to get into that right now. What I want to tell you is that the activity and the investment in an anchor on the eastern side of the district will make a huge difference in being able to attract all of those amenities that you have so long asked for. With that, I'll turn it over to the council.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let's be clear. The challenges that the good brother pointed out, they didn't just exist overnight. These problems have been happening for decades, right? So when we talk about growth, I want to set the tone because it's a new sheriff in town, right? When I ran, respectfully, when I ran, I talked about the Ward 7 recovery plan, which creates a framework to address some of our longstanding challenges, right? To the deputy mayor's point, we need investments. We're the only ward that does not have an anchor. What that means is when investors are looking across the city and trying to figure out where they should invest, they skip over Ward 7, right? We got to change that narrative. We have the makings to be the best ward in the District of Columbia. So that rhetoric about the poorest ward, that's going to change today. That changed January 2nd when I took the seat as the Ward 7 council member. So if you're not a part of the solution, which a lot of folks in this room is about, then you gotta reconstruct your thinking. As a council member, I want to create opportunities so we can have more strands, so we can have more hotels, so we can have sit-down restaurants, so we can create more opportunities for small and local businesses who want to have a seat at the table. That's what I'm all about. So I respect the passion, but we got to be realistic because where was this 2 years ago? Where was this 10 years ago, right? So it's not going to happen overnight. We want to come together collectively and realistically, and it really starts with an anchor to really stimulate our economy, to let folks know Ward 7 is the place. It's our time. So I just want to really level set and really encourage folks to stand up and really join the conversation.
All right. Thank you for that response.
Can I just real quick, not that anything needs to be said after that, but what I will say, because Kimon raised the issue around the Office of Racial Equity. There's a Office of Racial Equity at the council. There's also one at the executive. I did introduce the legislation that the council supported to pass that and put it in place. I always do my work through an equity lens, whether it's in vogue or not. I'm making sure that the developments are inclusive. And I plan to do the same thing with this development. That means when it comes to the opportunities that get created through First Source when it comes to the opportunities that get created through requirements to engage with CBEs. I'm not just stopping at the floor, right? I'm pushing for them to do more. And I've done it in previous projects. And I don't just do it in the four corners of the legislation that gets passed to permit it to happen. I do it with the people who are a part of it, which means the development team, it means the general contractors and others. I've done it when I was representing Ward 5 of the council, and I'm doing it as an at-large council member working hand in hand with your council member. One of the first conversations we had when this first hit was, what are we gonna do specifically for Ward 7 and the east side of the District of Columbia, not just east of the river, because all of Ward 7 isn't east of the river, but the east side of the District of Columbia. And it is a priority, and it will remain a priority throughout this process. So just to be clear, it's going to drive what we do as it relates to this almost $4 billion project.
All right, I have questions from the audience. I'm going to put these two in one and see if they can get knocked out real quick. One, I live on East Street Northeast. Will we have to move? That's one question. The next one here, kind of similar. What about the expansion on the connection to the surrounding communities like Parkside and H Street? How will the connections be made? So will I have to move? That's from one person. Another person, Ms. Jones. How will the connections be made?
Let me be, nobody is going to have to move. Everything that we're proposing is to remain on site. So hopefully that answers that question. And, oh, how do we make connections to other parts of the neighborhood and make sure that H Street and other areas are at, what was that? Oh, Parkside, yes.
I can take that, Deputy Mayor. That's a good question. As a council member, I've been in numerous conversations with the director of DDOT. They're in the process of conducting a transportation study to look at the main roads, the side roads, and really anticipate for the future. Additionally, I got good news for my neighbors at Parkside, that back service road that connects between the Pepco Power Point and Nicosia Avenue. There's funding, and that back road will be opening. So that connects River Terrace and Benton Road. Absolutely.
Hello, everybody. My name is Austin Spriggs. I'm an architect. I grew up at 514 24th Street, Northeast, just below Benning Road. My company has designed 3 subways for Metro: New York Avenue, Suitland Road, and Georgia Avenue, Petworth. I don't know of any other architect in the city who has designed 3 stations. We designed more projects for Metro through some of the joint ventures that we've had than any company, I couldn't list them all. As an architect, my daughter and I want to be a part of this design. We've tried. We have tried to reach the commanders, but I hate to say we've been unsuccessful so far.
You won't be unsuccessful after tonight. I'll guarantee you that.
But I mentioned the jobs that we've done so that you know we have the kind of experience, the capability, and the track record to perform on this kind of project. We want to be on the team. And we hope the last thing I'll say is we hope that all of you will help us get on that team. Thank you.
So If I could respond, I really appreciate it. Your name was Austin Spriggs? Okay. And what's the name of your company?
ASAL Associates, Architects and Planners.
Okay. ASAL?
It was Austin Spriggs Associates, now
Got
it's ASAL.
Got
The
it.
work we did was under the old name Austin Spriggs
Okay.
Associates.
We'll get the old and the new names.
It's all in the record. We've done a heck of a lot of work.
Let me say, first of all, I appreciate your work and what you contributed to the District of Columbia. So I'm, for the purpose of this conversation, assuming that the council approves this deal, one of the first things I do is reach out to the development team, reach out to the general contractors,
Great.
have a meeting. And frankly, I have those meetings before the deal even gets passed because I like to spark those conversations.
Great.
But one of the things that always comes up is capacity, right? I advocate for small businesses in the District of Columbia who can do the work. When I hear somebody like you talk about your track record, your past performance, then I get excited because you've done it in the past. I know you can deliver today. And you're the type of company that we want to make the connection with, the commanders with, and whoever they pick as their general contractor. We will do that.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to do
Thank
that.
you.
And to the extent you all know other companies that can deliver on these major projects, have delivered on major projects in the District of Columbia, I want to know who they are because we want to connect them to make sure they're part of this once in a generation opportunity.
Thank
That's what
you.
it's about at the end of the day. And that's our job.
I don't walk quite as well as I used to because COVID beat me up. But we're still hanging in there and we're busy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mary.
Good evening, panel and everybody. My name is Ivan Cloyd, and I want to address two things. It's obvious that 7 and 8 has been overlooked. We don't got to keep talking about that. But I want to talk about the racial inequalities of people who don't live in this ward keep telling us what we deserve. And what I want to talk about is those same folks, Councilmember Charles Allen, he had 2 stadiums in his backyard till one was taken away, and now he's sniffing in our business. So what I want the deputy mayor to do, and Councilmember McDuffie specifically, if you could tell this audience in layman terms, if we build all housing on RFK site, what would it do to the district's budget? All housing, the whole 188, if we get deep affordable housing, or even mixed use, what would it do to the budget? Can we do it? Because I'm gonna be honest, it's an easy no, it's easily no, but we got people with this rhetoric pushing this who already got theirs, and they trying to deprive us of ours. And then they got other people who look like us trying to deprive us of ours. So my question to you guys, could you explain to the audience, what would it really do if we did a whole affordable site of housing on RFK? That's just my only question.
So I am going to answer. I think that I don't know what the number is, but here's what I do know. I do know that if we don't bring an anchor or something to the site, we'll see what we've seen at Hill East. We were able to develop some things, and we're proud of what we've developed. But we still have 30 acres to go. We've been working on that for 20 years. So there's something about having an anchor and other kinds of uses that are drawing people there that attract investment so that we can actually bring housing to the site. Otherwise, I think we're on a 30-year trajectory before we can build enough housing. It just won't happen quickly, and it won't happen anytime soon. And as Mayor Bowser says, it is the fastest and surest way to ensure that we get housing on this site for people, but that we also infuse our economy with jobs and contracting opportunities. So I don't know the number, but I'll tell you, it is the fastest way that we get housing to this site, because an all housing program, we've had that at Hill East, and we haven't been able, with all the money that we've brought to the table, to deliver it, because there's just not enough value in the land as it is today without anything more contributing to it. So thanks for the question.
But I'm going to, there we go. So this is for the panel. Actually, it's for council members Felder and the mayor's plan gives the Commanders land for a stadium and most of the land outside the stadium for $1 per year. Council members Felder and McDuffie, would you commit to DC charging full market value, full market rate for any land at RFK other than affordable housing?
So I know people often hear about the numbers associated with land value in that, cities, won't just say DC, give away land to developers for free or for $1. It is a process that goes into determining the land value before those deals get done. And there was a process here. Nina Albert can happily speak to what the process was for the District of Columbia. But what we do at the council when we get this deal is we have a process, and it is a transparent process where we have hearings. I hope the bill should be a part of it at least, referred to the Committee on Business and Economic Development, which I chair and which your council member is a member of, to ask the questions around how they arrived at that amount, right? So we haven't gotten to the part in the council's process where we've asked those questions, but I ask those questions when land gets transferred for the purpose of development all the time. And I will ask that question with respect to this project because it is no exception. It is actually more than most of the projects that I've seen come through the committee. And so we're going to make sure that we ask that question. This won't be a giveaway, right? It won't be a giveaway, right? We're going to look at opportunities through the entire pipeline of this development, how much it costs, who's putting up what, who's getting what in return, because that's what the council's role is in providing oversight. When it comes to opportunity, we're going to be looking at businesses like Mr. Spriggs' business, but every aspect of this deal, from the engineers and architects to the lawyers and professional services that are provided to the construction jobs, both temporary hard hat, but other jobs as well, union opportunities, as well as small business opportunities. And so to the heart of your question is a sense that the city and the residents don't want billionaires to get a better part of this deal than they do as ordinary taxpayers. And it is our job at the council to ensure that that's the case. And we will do that.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sheila Carson Carr. I'm the former chair of 7F, the ANC that this stadium sits in, and I've been doing this a long time. I have three things real quick. One is access. When the mayor came to our ANC commission meeting, when they were talking about the bicycle trail and all that development going on in the baseball, we can't get to that side. It's not walkable. It's not walkable. So I don't hear anybody saying, connecting to the island that nobody lives on. How about making the access connected so that the residents of Ward 7 on this side of the river have free access to get to it, not walking over to some daggone Benham Road to get to it. The other thing is that this is the third time that this city has found money for what you want to do for fun. I'm here representing the children of this city. I got a bill passed through God, Bill 23-191, the Dyslexia and Struggling Reading Bill. We worked hard on that bill. We did our research. We went to talked to Mississippi, and they told us what's needed. The need is training of the teachers. You're not training the teachers. You got them doing the screening 3 times a year. When you find a child with a problem, the teachers haven't been trained in the science of reading. They haven't, and they've been introduced. And when they get introduced to it, they go, oh my God. But guess what? Mississippi went from 47 to 24 in the standardized reading. We can do the same. But they have to find the money that you can find for the hockey team, the basketball team, and the football team to train our teachers during the school day now, not 10 years from now, for that pipeline to prison. Cut it out. And lastly, I would say is that I see all these jobs you talk about. When y'all were building Hill East, I was chair. He became behind me as the next chair. What happened to all the the people that's supposed to be working there? What happened? What happened? And if you don't teach the children so they can pass tests and understand why they got to take those different levels of math and everything, you won't have the people. So they be on the corner like they are now. We tired of this for our children. We want better for our children, and give us the money to train the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carson Carr. You know, I share your passion. Just very quickly, in terms of accessibility, within my 2026 proposed budget to the mayor, I put funding, or I push for funding to increase connectivity, not only around the stadium, but the communities that are directly impacted. You'll see that within my budget letter. In terms of additional funding to train our teachers, I share that sentiment. But I think there's a misnomer that I want to correct. When we talk about program, there's two types of district funding. You have the operating side and you have the capital side. The operating side pays for my salary, programming, day-to-day activities of the city. The capital side is for long-term investments that generate revenue to go back into the operating. So those are two different funding streams. And I think we gotta be honest and make sure we differentiate the two. Because when we hear comments about, well, the city got money for this and that, they're two different completely funding streams. And then your last point about jobs, I agree with you. I'm not only pushing for jobs, but I'm also making sure that I'm pushing for more opportunities for small and local business owners who live in Ward 7, who want to have a seat at the table, not only with the RFK site, but all type of projects or opportunities across the ward, so they can hire residents and create opportunities for individuals who might not want to go to four-year traditional college routes. So I share that. I'm happy to keep more conversations going. You have my number. You can call me from 10 in the morning to 10 at night.
I just want one thing on that. Who decides what's capital budget and what's the expense budget? The same way you're doing the bike stuff and the rails and all, you can make the decision to put money in it for the teachers. It's not holding water.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
not holding water.
I agree.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Councilman Felder and McDuffie and everyone here. My name is Tanae Lewis. I am an environmental justice advocate, a volunteer leader with the Campaign to Reduce Lead Exposure and Asthma. I hosted our first EJ Town Hall on March the 8th in DC, right at the Dorothy Height Library. My concern today is, just like you've heard before, the public health and environmental justice issues that are impacting the residents, especially children. We have lead service lines here, right? There's a mandate, no, it's the law now, to replace all lead service lines by 2037. This has been going on for more than 25 years. We have gotten money from the former Biden administration through the BLL Act, and don't quote me, but y'all know what I'm saying. Anyway, there's been a lot of money distributed to the city to do the lead service replacement plan. I have been advocating for free lead-free water filters for the past 3 to 4 years. There's pending legislation right now to ensure that DC residents are no longer harmed by the lead in the water. This is very frustrating to me because we can find money. The mayor reduced the budget to 0 3 years ago before there was any discussion here. So my proposed solution is to set a concession on this bill to ensure that all DC residents across the cities, but especially wards 5, 7, and 8, receive lead-free water filters before breaking ground. I have talked to Councilman Felder about these issues. And I have a granddaughter here, and we have lead service lines, but in the plumbing inside our home is not lead. But we need to clear this up. In addition to the air pollution, we want to make sure that the demolition work that's being done is actually done according to the environmental standards. We hear that in my circles, I'm hearing that the mayor is repealing some of the clean standards, especially for the Capital Arena deal that just went out. I plan to testify. I'm not going to take up too much space, but we need to ensure that the residents are not continually to suffer harm, especially our children. And for those who don't know about the lead poisoning, we are now seeing, I'll finish up, but we're now seeing in our wards where there's the largest lead service line inventory, kids that have been poisoned over 20-something years ago. And guess what? This is a correlation to the crime, the environment, exactly, all of the things. And so as an environmental justice advocate, a grandparent, and a Ward 7 resident, I would like to personally be at these tables, and I would like to bring my peers that is more scientific and more educated than I am around public health, but I know it's time now. And I am proposing we get lead-free water filters before the bill is signed or the deal is signed.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I just want to make a really quick reminder. We've got our program, and that means that we need to be really tight, really succinct with our on target, on message. Thank you for that comment. Here's some from the audience, and these are folks that really want to get started, like now. Our contractors.
I'm sorry, Donna. Ms. Lewis, thank you for that question. Looking forward to additional conversations. But I also just want to know, I used to serve on the board of directors for DC Water, and they had this initiative to already clean and replace water lines across the district. So there may be some overlap, but okay. Well, yes, we should definitely have. My staff is in the office, but we'll definitely have conversations. I appreciate you.
And we'll support Councilmember Felder and join. I've been an advocate for environmental justice for a really long time. I used to represent Ward 5. We have a whole lot of issues that I won't spend time going around, but I believe that every resident in the District of Columbia should be able to breathe clean air. Every resident of the District of Columbia should be able to drink water without chemicals or lead in them. And we know the impact when that's not a standard that we hold people to. So we will hold folks to that standard. And there are going to be all types of studies and stuff, but your point is, let's tackle that on the front end. So let's definitely engage around that. Thank you for raising that.
All right. Next question. Are contractors for construction selected? If so, how can the public access this information? If not, when will the bidding process start for RFK? And explain the process. Thank you. A related question. How and where do contractors from DC bid on open contracts and jobs? And will MBE and CBE contractors be mandated to be used?
Yeah, thank you for the question. The simple answer is no, contractors have not been selected at the moment. I think it's critical in many ways, as I think both council members have said here, that we make sure that we create a pipeline for all contractors in the city, a diversity of individuals that will be a part of the project for sure. This will be the largest project, single largest project in the city's history. It will be the largest union project in the city's history. It will be the largest CBE project in the city's history. It will be the largest small business and diverse project in the city's history. And we want the council and you all to keep us to that standard because it's critical that we meet that.
And to the other part of the question about CBE participation, it is required by law that there be 35% CBE participation on the books. I will say, and I'm sure that that Kirchen's listening closely, I always push to do more than what the law says. In project like this, where this level of government participation is involved, I think we should push those numbers up. I advocated that we do that on the monumental deal, and it went from 35% after my advocacy, work with my colleagues, to 40% CBE participation on the monumental deal. And the folks associated with this project should know full well, as they already did when I first met with them, one of the first things I raised is the CBE small business participation. And I intend to push for more than the floor on this deal as well.
Hi, everyone.
CBE and SBE.
All right. Thank you for putting this on today. My name is Meredith Holmgren. I'm a resident of Ward 7. I live in the Kingman Park neighborhood. And, while there are some things that I think the community, the local community around the RFK site will welcome, like more housing and recreation space, there is an aspect of the proposal that's really unacceptable, and that is the parking garages. You say you want to put the community first, but you are proposing to put thousands of new cars and parking spaces into our community, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these tall parking garages that threaten the health and safety of our community and the people who live around those garages. Increases in disease, disability, and premature death have been scientifically correlated to the amount of traffic and car pollution communities are exposed to, specifically idling cars, the kind of idling cars that are proposed to be queuing into large parking garages, for example. It degrades the environment, and it will create a more dangerous environment for Kingman Park residents to access amenities of the site. It cuts off the community from the river. It cuts off the community from the recreation space, from the fields. We are a historic district that has a historic relationship to the river and to, recreation space and to our neighbors. And so I think it's really difficult to hear this proposal and not even, have the courtesy to come to our neighborhood to talk about the parking garages, which is, threatening the health and safety of our community. You said that we need to figure out where we're going to widen roads. Well, let me guess, it's going to be where those parking garages are, which means the Kingman Park community. Again, another layer of health and safety threats to Kingman Park. So I really urge you to rethink your parking strategy. Thank you.
So I just have to address a couple different things. That parking is necessary for the stadium. It just is. We are very fortunate that we've studied different urban stadiums that have that are served by public transportation. Our public transportation system at this site is among the best. And so when the NFL and the Commanders first talked to us about how much parking they needed for those days, they started with a much higher number than what we agreed to, which is 8,000 parking spaces. I think that if we do not provide parking, there will be a very serious impact on the local and surrounding community without having some parking there, because not everybody can or will want to take metro or bus or cars. So I just, we need to be realistic about this. And there is an opportunity to engage with the public about not only the transportation network and what the technicalities of how we mitigate the impact of a volume of traffic coming through, but also the design of the garages. We're just simply not there yet with that level of detail. And so anyway, we just have to accept that there is a push and a pull, and to accommodate any development on this site, people will be asking us about how we're going to accommodate parking on the site, whether it's all housing or whether there's a stadium.
And I just want to add, just from some context, this isn't the first meeting as a council member. I think this is like our 7th meeting. In addition to that, tomorrow I'm going to be at ANC 7D meeting to address neighbors in the 7D commission. And just some context. So when I was talking to neighbors in terms of what they didn't want to see at the site. What they said was they didn't want to see a sea of surface parking. So to date, there's 20,000 current parking spaces. In addition to that, the stadium will be 65,000. So 65,000 seat stadium only to have 8,000 parking spaces because there's 4 metro stations around the site that creates for an additional option for folks who might not want to drive there. So as we continue conversations, if there's a possibility to reduce the parking, I'm all for that. But I just want to create some context in terms of what's currently there compared to what neighbors said they didn't want, and how we move forward in the direction that meets the needs of the community.
So my follow-up question then is why you decided to put it in a historic residential neighborhood rather than places of the site that are less residential? So you're putting more people in contact with this?
It's not in the, so RFK, the 180 acres is not the historic residential. So look, let me just say, parking is going to be the thing that people want to talk about. Traffic is going to be the thing that people want to talk about because it impacts people on a daily basis. So we are going to have an opportunity to vet all of that and to work with you on what those solutions are. But we recognize that, we understand it. And I just want to make sure that you know that you have our commitment to working with you on that. And we're starting now, and this is part of every single development project I've ever worked on, where people are concerned about building out. And we're very fortunate at this site. We're trying to accommodate the highest volume when there are 10 NFL games and 10 kind of major concerts. But the vast majority of the time it will be at a lower volume, and we can use the parking to also support the sportsplex, the recreation facilities, and everything else, which is what we've also heard from residents, that they want to make sure that we can accommodate parking on site.
All right, I think we have time for two more questions, and one of them is going to be right here. We're just about 5 minutes of our time. And you mentioned, Director, what we can do. I know. But here's the thing. Ashley.
Hold on,
Ashley.
Donna. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I think I want to be mindful. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I know Councilmember McDuffie has to leave at 8 o'clock. I have no problem answering questions. Deputy Mayor, I don't know if you have time for maybe 10 minutes, but we just want to make sure we get folks who have been patiently waiting in line, okay? But we got to be respectful, though. That's how we're going to get through the rest of the meeting. Okay.
All right,
Absolutely.
The next question here is on the sportsplex. Should the sportsplex include an Olympic caliber indoor track and field facility? Sportsplex.
Question?
Yeah. On the sportsplex, should it include an Olympic caliber indoor track and field facility?
So just like all of the different facilities, whether it's parking, whether it's the mixed use, hey, you guys, hold on. Let's make sure we can answer this person's question. And then for the sportsplex, we go through what's called programming, where we start to work with the community. We start to work with all of the recreational teams and leagues to identify what's needed. So again, there'll be time for that input, and we'll take that as a recommendation. What is going on, y'all? It's so loud. Huh? You can't hear. Folks, I'm so sorry. There are folks here who want to hear the answer, so if we could keep private conversations down.
My name is Chris Kearns. Kenyon, I've worked with you in the past as a businessman, and I'm a sports fan. However, this is an outrageously awful gamble. This whole project is based upon projections that are also based upon assumptions, and the assumptions are all out of whack. If you look at study after study after study that's been done on sports stadiums across the country, they have come up with one answer, and that is they're bad investments for local governments. Bad investments for local governments, unanimously. All we have to do is look right down the road at the current Commander Stadium. Okay, and guess what? Prince George's County is out there, and they're saying, we were promised all these things, the same things, we got nothing, and now we want $100 million. Yeah, so nothing out there. So remember something else, 10 games a year. 10 games a year, that's it. So how many in these other stadiums that you're comparing it to? There are hundreds of events a year already. And so we are going to be building a competition because the District of Columbia already is invested in 3 other arenas. You pointed them out, 3 other arenas. So what the District of Columbia is going to be doing is going to be saying, okay, we're going to be competing against ourselves and trying to bring in these other events that we could have at the National Stadium, at the Audi Stadium, at the downtown arena. So all of these events, I think it's just pure air. What we need is affordable housing. We can do it in a hurry, and it will bring in real estate taxes, sales taxes, and income taxes that are all deferred or non-existent under this program. Thank you.
I would like to address this because I think that this project is quite different. The District of Columbia has a proven track record that investment in stadiums are net positive and in a shorter time than they've ever projected. And it is very different. It is totally different. And sorry, sir, I told you from the beginning, it's not 10 events a year. We're having a dome and a roof on the stadium, which doesn't exist in other stadiums. And then the last thing that you said, I want to make sure it's on the record so that everybody has the facts. We have multiple stadiums. Capital One Arena is of a certain size. Audi Field is of another size, which is 20,000 seats. And then we have Nats Park. And so when you compete, which is, I can't remember all the numbers for Nats Park for how big it is, and then 65,000 seat arena, you don't compete with each other because musicians don't want to play in front of an empty arena. They'll go to the arena that is sized to the size of their concert. And so who we compete against, these concerts, they compete against, Baltimore and other places. So you're competing against the Eastern Seaboard. That's what a 65,000 seat arena competes against, not against ourselves. So I just think it's very important to get the facts straight. And I will tell you, an all 100% development with all housing will not deliver in the next 20 years. I promise you, because there isn't enough energy or catalyst to deliver that kind of volume. And we've seen it. So I just beg, look at our own track record in the district of investment in sports and how quickly we've been able to pay back that investment and deliver the amenities that were promised.
And I'm happy to talk to Chris or anybody else who doesn't think it's a good investment. I would point them out to those arenas that we've already invested in and what's happening around them. But I also want to point out one thing. No offense to my folks across the border, but the District of Columbia is not Prince George's County. We're just not. We are the sports capital of the United States. What we do is going to work, and we have examples of where it has worked. So I wanted to just point that out.
Hello, good evening. I got it. Good evening. My name is Musin Boluta Uba. A lot of you familiar with me with Bo or Uncle Bo. I've been living in this neighborhood since the 60s. And what I haven't heard is things when it repeat or help our history. You see our history on the wall right there? We want to be able to, not just with this stadium, we want to talk about our history. I'm a returning citizen. We haven't heard anything about that. We have a 501c3 business, Hustlers to Harvesters. Hustlers to Harvesters is a group of returning citizens that collaborate with the young and old generation to get them a better sustainable way of life.
What we do is aquaponics, hydroponics, hoop houses, certification, and anything when it comes to building. We have the first ever in public housing history when it comes to DPR, a solar garden in the hood. I'm talking about if the power cut out right here, you can come up to my garden and eat fresh fruits and vegetables. So just like this brother right here, we went in because we've been doing this for years. Y'all know me. All these council members know us. We went in when it comes to infrastructure, agriculture, and STEAM and STEM programs when it comes to this. If don't nobody know what STEM is, science, technology, engineer, the A, agriculture, and art and math. We want all you to come up here. Since we got all these people here, we want you to come up in the hood, in Clay Terrace, in Dick Street, and see what we really doing. So we ain't got to talk about no projections. We ain't talk about no futuristics. We talk about what's happening now. We had council members that come up there in that Clay Terrace garden that ran for mayor, ran for members, for council members. We want you to come up there and see what we're doing now so we can be part of this. I drive past that stadium every day. You know what I see? A 30-foot grow dome, solar dome with lofts in it, growing fresh fruits and vegetables. Not no rooftop roof that just growing some daggone flowers. We want fresh fruits and vegetables that we can basically really show what's going on. We want to show our real talent in this hood, not just no outside investors. I hear people, I've been living here. No, I was born here. May the 2nd, 1964, on the living room floor in Clay Terrace, the same day that Nanny Hellenberg was born. Thank you, the same day. We just celebrate, thank you, Wendell. We just celebrated her birthday over there Saturday. Thank Wendell came. But all in all, I thank you all for getting excited and all this. But no, we want action. We want you all to come up there. Don't overlook us. We don't want no shaking heads. We want you to come up there, see what we're doing, and guess what? I bet you we can provide solar right now that if your power go out in your house, I can bring you portable solar panels that I can plug up to your house. I can charge a Tesla car that's sitting out there right now. So we want to be able to show our talent in our hood. And I don't want to hear, okay, Uncle Bo, we got you. No, I want you to bring your butts up there and show us that you really got us and we be part of this. We want to be able to take that water from the Potomac to go into infrastructure, agriculture, so you can see it naturally grow. I got you. We want to see that naturally grow so we can see that when it's talking about these safe ways, we can do it naturally. You got me? Thank you.
Uncle Bo, yeah, Uncle Bo, you know you got my support. Yeah, you know I'll be there. I think it's more conversations take place. We want to figure out how we can provide you with the support necessary to make sure you have a seat at the table.
We want these returning citizens to be able to do stuff and help them. Excuse me, baby. We want to be able to help these real returning citizens so they won't keep committing crimes that we get the youth.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here tonight. So I want to talk about transportation. So part of that's about parking, part of that's about Metro. So right now the proposal is for, as you said, 8,000 parking spots, over $350 million, around 20 acres of land. That's almost the same size as the stadium itself, right? Yeah. Compared to, I mean, it's, no. That's 20,000 parking spots on surface lots. It's 20 acres of land in parking garages. If you measure it on the map that you showed earlier, it's 20 acres. And meanwhile, there's no proposed funding for Metro improvements. There's a proposed study, but no proposed funding for Oklahoma Ave or anything else. And meanwhile, across the river here, we have so many empty park and ride stations here. We have 13,000 parking spots at metro stations on the orange line, on the blue line, on the silver line. So what are we doing to make use of the metro infrastructure that we have? And why are we putting $350 million into parking without any study? And for metro, it's just, let's study it and not give it any funding.
We talked to Metro, and they wouldn't, right now, they have to study it. That's how you begin these processes. They have to. You can't just throw a number at that. They have to understand, can you imagine like building a metro like tunnel? So they have to study it. That's what they've asked us for. And we're taking it seriously and offering funding for that. So it's a first step in a process. We can't offer money for that without knowing what it is. And Metro, by the way, has different types of funding that they can get access to, which opens up different kinds of dollars. So that's something that the NFL and that the Commanders have a lot of experience with, based on patrons and events that they have. So they know what their parking needs are. And so they started with a higher number. We said, look, this is very well served by Metro. So we got to a number that we thought was reasonable and was something that they could live with. And so they're not getting everything they want. And we hope that over the course of working on this, we can work that down even more.
So there's parking available in Nats Park, or if you look at other major stadiums in London, like Wednesday Stadium, there's 90,000 seats, only 2,000 parking spots. We have such good transit connection and bike connection and walk.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, this is something that we've worked on together, and this is the number that we've come to.
Next question, please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shamika Smith. I am a Ward 7 resident and mother. And so my question is, can the council, and I'm asking the commanders as well, to guarantee that a full-service grocery store will be built in Capitol Gateway before the stadium gets built? We've been waiting since 2008. You're proposing the stadium to be built within 5 years. We've been waiting since 2008. But in 5 years, we can get a big stadium. I'm asking for a guarantee that we will have a grocery store on Capitol Gateway, with a guarantee that it will last longer than a few years. Because I know we had some, and it goes away after a few years. It shouldn't go away after 2-3 years. It should be there longer than 2-3 years. You should have a 99-year plan or something. And I know there's an issue about eminent domain. I know y'all gonna tell me eminent domain, that's the reason. But what I can see, what the commanders did, where there is a will, there is a way. Get it done. 5 years, we should have a grocery store before there's a groundbreaking for a stadium. Thank you. And then will there be easier access to 295 north and south from East Capitol Street? Because right now we have to go all the way around and come back around to get to 295. And if there is a game, if there's events, now we're stuck in traffic just to get on 295. So there should be something in that plan from East Capitol Street for us to get to 295 north and south without going around RFK. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. As the council member, I'm working diligently to try to get you that grocery store. If you look at my budget letter, there's money in the budget for that. It's been an arduous process. We're trying to explore everything possibly to get a grocery store. In terms of your infrastructure question, again, back and forth with 295, that is one of the things that I'm talking about constantly with the director of DDOT, as previously mentioned. And as more conversations happen, we definitely will come to the community. As a matter of fact, I just thought about something. We're actually going to have a town hall meeting with the director of DDOT to talk about infrastructure projects all across the ward. We'll make sure that you and the misters come out and ask that question as well. Thank you. We're waiting on the budget. You know, it's budget time, so hopefully within the next 6 weeks to a couple of months, but definitely before the summer is over.
Okay, it looks like we have 2 more people in line. Let's get.
Look, the only caveat that we have in this one is there hasn't been a zoning process done, but no doubt grocery store is part of phase 1 for us.
But she
All right, young lady in the flowered hat, please.
Hello, thank you for coming. I, again, want to talk about parking. We do not want above ground parking in our beautiful fields. If you want to have below ground parking, find a place for it, but we do not want to have an obstructed view from above ground parking just to pollute our air.
I look forward. No, I appreciate that comment. As previously mentioned, my office as well as the deputy mayor's office look forward to continue conversations with the community. We want to be realistic. As a council member, I will be doing a disservice to tell you something only because I think that's what you want to hear. I'm not going to do that.
Okay, we've got one last question for the night.
Yes, hello, my name is Diana Hibbs. I'm a Ward 7 resident, and I live in Kingman Park, and I'm here to talk about parking as well, because you might think that it's no big deal and you've got to have it, but it's a big impact for Kingman Park. We have traffic already. We don't have, there's not, it's the pollution, the standing cars. We don't want the parking. It cuts us off from the river, and I go around the city every day, and every day I see more and more parking spaces being taken away with flexi posts and bike lanes. I like bike lanes, okay, but you're taking away all the parking spaces, and now it's okay to put these big garages in our community that cuts us off from the river, and you're going to say 200 events a year. That means we are going to be polluted 200 days a year as well. And the thing I would like to ask is a commitment from everybody here to come to our community and face us directly, okay, so that we can ask questions and get them answered, because everybody is against that parking as it stands now.
So Ms. I just want to clarify some things. This development deal doesn't cut off the river. There's geniuses in government and outside of government who are working to configure this site in a manner that does not disrupt the quality of life for neighbors. While we do recognize that parking is one component of that site, you got to activate green space, build hotels, housing, and a host of other neighborhood serving amenities. I also think it's important to note that depending on how long you lived in Kingman Park, I know some big supporters and neighbors who lived there for 40 years. And what they said was, while we're big supporters of the stadium, we didn't support 20,000 cars driving, zigzagging through our neighborhood. So as one of the concerns that we heard, we've said we want to condense that. I think that there's a multitude of opportunities for community engagement. And then to your last point in terms of running from the Kingman Park community, you and I both know that is not true at all. I've been elected for maybe 4 months. I've been there maybe 10 times already, and I look forward to coming to the ANC meeting tomorrow. With such a large development deal, as a council member, I want to make sure I get in front of as many neighbors, especially neighbors who will be impacted the most, to figure out how we can come to an agreement. You might not support the stadium, but you might support the 30% of all green space. You look like a walker. As a matter of fact, I've seen you walking in the park, respectfully. So I think there's an opportunity for a medium. We all can't get what we want, but I think this will benefit the ward immensely. This will benefit Kingman Park neighbors, as well as Parkside neighbors, as well as River Terrace neighbors, as well as Hill East neighbors. So I think this is the beginning of a number of conversations that we will have to figure out how we can strike the best balance as we move forward in this process.
So will you commit to come to Kingman Park and the Hill East community in person?
I was about to say Ms. Payne. We were just at Kingman Park meeting. I don't know if you guys have a president, but we were just there maybe a couple months ago. So I still like to say, you get me on the agenda, I will be happy to come out to the community and answer any questions that they met. And no, I was there in person. Ask your daughter, Miss Payne. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back. We'll come back. No, thank you.
All right. One, I appreciate you all being here tonight. That's going to conclude for us. For all of you who have written questions on your cards, we may not have gotten to them. Our time is up. We're actually over time. We're going to take your questions.